Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth. Oh, you know it must be that time of year again, when you got the white media trying to get black folks whipped up into a lather because you need to vote, but we're not going to tell you what you're voting for. Byron Allen's alternative lifestyle website, The Griot, has decided to weigh in with a piece written by April Ryan. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. She's gone from being part of the White House press secretary's pool to a blogger for The Griot. And what is April Ryan trying to do? She's trying to tell us that this assemblage of bought and paid for cherry-picked bootlicks are somehow supposed to be something we take pride in. Black history, she says. And exactly who among this gallery of rogues is she trying to get us to cheer for? Well, the first is our old friend Sleaze Merritt. Everybody knows Sleaze, America's favorite ambulance chaser and professional BS artist. He took some time away from helping let killer cops off the hooks with stupid settlements to see if he could pivot from eking out a living as a lawyer, to go into politics. And he's off to a good start. He's already got the endorsement of Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not making that up. Apparently, she's actually endorsed this clown. So, if nothing else, at least Sleaze Merritt has the hood rat attention whore vote sewn up. And what exactly are the planks of his, political platform? Voting reform, he says. Sounds just like Stacey Abrams now, don't it? These bootlicks can't even bother to think up any new material. The Griot puff piece goes on to praise Sleaze for making a difference when it comes to police-involved killings in black communities. Oh, so Sleaze is supposed to be some sort of representative for black folks? Really? That's funny because just a couple of paragraphs later, they do the bait and switch. We go from saying black to then just a strictly black and brown line. If Democrats can increase black and brown votes even marginally, the party could flip Texas. If black and brown voter engagement increased just marginally, if we can increase black and brown voter turnout even marginally. Man, Sleaze is hammering the hell out of that black and brown talking point now, ain't he? Of course, you never hear any Hispanic candidates saying black and brown anything. With them, it's just a strictly Hispanic or Latino line. They don't even say brown, because most of them identify themselves as white. Next, April Ryan introduces us to Cheryl Bailey, who apparently is calling herself running for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina. Never heard of her before? Me neither. And why exactly is she running for the Senate? Because, as the Griot says, we need more black women representation. Yeah, that's exactly what the black community needs. We need to go ahead and try to gin up some sort of half-baked gender war, fracture the black vote along gender lines. Is this how you solidify black support? Is this how you solidify the black vote? By saying we need to have more black women in there so we can get a you go girl, and then next thing you know, it's all about, well, who are black women going to be voting for versus black men? And what exactly is this representative of black women going to do in D.C.? Perhaps reparations, perhaps punish the police, penalize the states and municipalities for laws and local ordinances that hurt the black community, hurt black businesses, hurt black people. Maybe that's what she's running for, right? Nope. As Bailey puts it, her priority is access to health care and climate change and clean air and clean water. Now that's just the same old politically correct, inoffensive list of do-nothing policies that white liberals like to hear. Obviously, that's who this message is calibrated to please. You can't say anything that would offend them because that's the people who you want the money and the political support of. Nothing to indicate that you're going to rock the boat. You go to any black enclave in this country that you want, and you ask them their top priority, and they're going to say it's money. But whatever they say, you can bet none of them are going to say climate change. Again, this is just the same white power trick bag. You got the Democrats who have one of their bootlicks telling us, give the Democrats a gift. And somehow this is for the black community. White power is going to give a gift to themselves, policies that only they are interested in, and then claim that that's for us. The rising tide lifts all boats crap, that's all this is. And while it's true that clean water is important, I'll tell you right now, if you want to prevent the water from being polluted in the first place, then you have to commit to punishing these legislators in these states like Michigan who put laws on the books to remove local control from black cities, and then they carry out genocidal actions like poisoning the Flint water supply. The governor and everyone who backed that emergency manager fraud, they need to be in prison. But of course, this Cheryl Bailey character, she doesn't say anything about punishing the people poisoning the water. Just innocuous fluff that doesn't mean anything. Though she does make sure to slip in a black and brown reference, can't leave that out. By the way, just for kicks and giggles, I decided to try to see who it is that this woman's married to. Her husband is on Twitter, and his bio pretty much tells you everything you need to know about her. His bio says professional, then family, then his Greek fraternity letters. Finally, music and comedy. Well, it certainly makes sense for him to say music. He and his wife have clearly sold their souls for a song. And hell, the comedy part, that goes without saying because this woman's candidacy is a joke, though not a very funny one. This is all about showing that they're part of the right clubs. She's politically reliable for the Dems, and she's not going to cause them any problems. Next, April Ryan mentions Anthony Brown in Maryland. Now, I told you about Anthony Brown in my video about the Congressional Black Immigrant Caucus. I featured Anthony Brown in that video because his parents are both immigrants. His father is Afro-Cuban and his mother is a white woman from Switzerland. Anthony Brown's trying to go from Congress to the Attorney General's office in Maryland. He only wants to win a statewide office so that he hopes, use that as a springboard to the presidency, just like Stacey Abrams. I mean, these clowns, no new plays in the playbook. And as for his agenda, do you even have to ask? Representation, diversity. Whenever you hear these bootlicks using those words, that's them auditioning for a white audience, telling them, look, these are the buzzwords, these are the perks. This is what I'll repeat for you like an idiot lemming, like a sock puppet. If you just go ahead and help me get into higher office, put me on the team, coach, and I'll go ahead and say representation and diversity for themselves. That's what they're talking about. But then he goes on to blather about public safety, civil rights, and workers' rights. And of course, healthcare and education as examples of breaking down barriers of inequity. How's he going to address inequity? Healthcare, education. No specifics, of course, because there is no plan. It's just a word salad of unrelated gibberish that he's going to be spouting. Well, I bet the black folks in Maryland just can't wait to vote this guy into the Attorney General's office, huh? He can't say what he's going to do for black folks, but take his word for it. Something's going to happen, right? Next, April Ryan mentions Malcolm Kenyatta. It's a disgrace that he's running around with that first name. Now, he wants to be a U.S. Senator for Pennsylvania. And what exactly are his qualifications? Well, according to the Griot, he's openly gay. That's it. He's openly gay, and the U.S. Senate needs to have him in there because it's going to be good for the membership. You need to have him in there, and as for his policies, sure, his resume is a little thin on that one, but he does have one policy recommendation: health care. And of course, particularly for black and brown communities. These fools, all of them saying the exact same empty talking points. You can tell that the freaking memo was given to all of them. These are the words you better say, and they're sticking to the script word by word. The Griot touts Kenyatta as focusing on all communities. Now, you know, when you go to a hospital, doctors don't focus on all their patients. They focus on the most critical patients first. As black people in this country, we're targeted for destruction. Tremendous deliberate damage has been done to us for hundreds of years. Damage that no other group has suffered. We're on our deathbeds here, and what we get told is, why, we can't focus on you folks. We can't prioritize you guys. We have to lift all boats. We can't just focus on you. Meanwhile, they're passing laws and giving tangibles to everyone except for us. And they never say, well, we can't just focus on Asians. We can't just focus on Ukrainians. We can't just focus on LGBT or immigrants. We got to focus on everyone. This is why that black and brown talking point has to stop. That's a propaganda technique that these Democratic shills are using. It's called creating a false association. You do that by taking two completely separate and unrelated things and then mention them together in the same sentence over and over and over again. A good example would be when W was trying to gin up support for his war in Iraq in 2002. He and his entire administration kept using the words Iraq, Saddam, and 9/11 in the same sentences over and over and over again. And almost overnight, people began to actually think that Saddam Hussein carried out the 9/11 attack. Years later, W would admit that there was no connection, but by then it didn't matter. His war for oil was already over. And you still have right-wing nuts who sincerely to this day believe that Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11, though they can't tell you what. That's the same playbook that these people are operating out of when they use that black and brown talking point. It's a slick way to minimize our interests. They make us synonymous with groups who have not been treated like us, whose condition is not the same as ours, and who in most cases have actually participated in the system of anti-black racism that we face. You might as well say black and white women as much as say black and brown. It's about as relevant. By the way, that's what the black feminist line is all about. Thank you, Cheryl Bailey. When you keep mentioning us right alongside other groups, it says that black people's condition is no different and hence no more important than anyone else's. So, this is April Ryan's carefully vetted list of Democratic bootlicks who they're trying to manufacture some phony black support for. And what are they coming to black folks with? What are they coming to black and brown communities with? Climate change, black female representation, LGBT representation, and a whole lot of black and brown. You know, this must be that new messaging that Roly-Poly Martin was blathering about. Black representation is a trick bag. That's just a rebranding of the old discredited slogan, black faces in high places. But the black grassroots, we already know that black representation means nothing if they are not also black committed. These are just social climbers April Ryan's listing off, more self-interested chumps trying to carve out a place for themselves in politics, looking for a new career. Obviously, the constituency that these clowns are trying to appeal to are not black voters at all. It's rich white Democratic donors and the white Democratic bigwigs who they're trying to impress. But on a side note, with that orgy of black and brown references that these chuckleheads were giving, you would think the Hispanics, at the very least, were liking having the Democrats name drop them so much. Sure, the Dems are losing black support faster than Roseanne Barr loses a fitness contest, but obviously they're making up for this loss of voters with all those new Hispanic votes that they're gaining. Why, all this shameless sucking up is going to have Hispanics so flattered they can't wait to vote for the Democrats, right? I guess not. Yeah, the Democrats' attempts to try to put together that Frankenstein monster of a constituency without black people in it, it just keeps coming up roses, doesn't it? I mean, it's working. Why, they've made the black vote irrelevant and obsolete to the political process, haven't they? No, it seems there is no substitute for the legitimacy, not to mention the cohesion, of the black vote. Many have tried, none have succeeded. See, that's what April Ryan and her list of hand-picked bootlicks are just too dense to figure out. Because it's not just the Hispanic candidates who never mention black people whenever they're on the campaign trail. Anytime you see these suck-ups like Sleaze, Merritt, or Anthony Brown, or Corny Booker, whenever they're speaking in front of non-black groups, they make sure never to mention black people at all. They cater to whatever that group wants. Ain't no black and brown anything, just brown, period. And it's not just because they're ashamed to be black and wish that they weren't, though that's certainly part of it. It's also because these turncoats understand full well exactly what it is they're really auditioning for. To become part of the white power machinery meant to keep black people subjugated. They made that devil's bargain with themselves a long time ago. But we see them for what they are. And since these bootlicks can't prioritize black people, we're not going to prioritize them at all. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Sandra Bates, Stephen Mayfield, Anthony Cooper, Ronald Rollins, and Yamuka H. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.